We all want love, but most of us don't want to date to get it. Because let's be honest, dating kind of sucks. But maybe it doesn't have to if we actually know what we're doing. Hi, I'm Kira Sabin, and this is Reinventing Dating, a smart and sweary podcast for all singles to learn the mindsets and skills to date with intention and confidence. Join me weekly as I break down the science and psychology behind what's working in our dating culture and what isn't. Every week, I bring a new topic, trend, skill, or mindset that can help us get out of our own way to learn how to date for relationships that we actually want. Because love isn't broken, but dating kinda is. But I'm reinventing it. Let's do this. Well, hello there, sugar pantses. Welcome back to another episode of Reinventing Dating. I'm Kira. We are back for our that's right, fucking 8th week in the series of common dating questions from a modern and healthy dating perspective or lens. Stop the insanity. 8 episodes. Now, a few things to keep in mind about this series. I'm going to be answering some of the very common questions that I get asked the most and that I see online, but bringing them here and talking about them through a more modern, non-gender role, healthy, science-backed, psychology-backed perspective. A few reminders. This is about finding a partner. So everything through my perspective is about partnerships, not just dating, not just relationships, not just getting a girlfriend or a boyfriend, but actual partner. I want people to be looking for partner behavior rather than just catching feelings. So just a reminder that my brand new fucking podcast with Dr. Isabel Morley, Rom-Com Rescue, is coming out April 3rd. We are going to be looking at and breaking down rom-coms. And let me tell you guys, I have found myself quite the fucking co-host. She is smart and she is a couples therapist. She is a mom. She comes from things in a much different way. I really look at things through the lens of dating. She looks at them through the lens of couples. I'm going to tell you, it's just going to be smart as fuck. But it's been crazy because I've been watching a ton of rom-coms. I have been looking up rom-com gifts for some giveaways. I hope you guys are following us on social media. And it's just also brought me back to kind of a former version of myself that, loved rom-coms and used them as a guide, which was unhelpful. And so I am watching and rewatching rom-coms, taking notes, looking at them through a critical eye, trying to also have fun with some of them. Some of these older ones, guys, they are hurting my feelings. They are hurting my feelings. They're so shitty with their messaging. However, I can't help but love them. But watching all these rom-coms has got me thinking about my favorite rom-com of all time. And by the way, I think there are some fucking stellar rom-coms and limited series coming out, particularly in England and Australia. I've seen some really, really good stuff. I think America's still catching up a little bit, I'll be honest. We can talk about that on the other podcast. But it brought me back to a question that I have talked about and shared over the years. Can men and women be friends? From When Harry Met Sally. Now, I have done over the years 3 iterations of this podcast. If you are in the podcast membership, which is $20 a month, you can listen to the other 2 iterations and compare them and see my growth. But the first one was this very romanticized, oh no, when I think about it. Originally a blog post that turned into a podcast that was really written at a time that I was learning and kind of grieving life changes in my 30s. When I was starting this business, I spent a whole summer on my parents' porch, drinking wine out of a mug, writing blog posts that became podcasts. So the first one was kind of like an ode almost to a friend of mine. His name is Chad. We went to college together. We had a friendship through my 20s and part of my 30s. And then I acted badly, to be honest. I acted really badly. He got into a relationship and it was not safe or okay for us to be friends anymore. That's a whole different conversation that doesn't have anything to do with today. The second time I did this podcast, and I haven't listened to it, I think was probably a little bit better, a little bit more thoughtful to, let's ask a real question. Can men and women be friends? But today I am bringing some actually real knowledge. I want to talk about this because I think this very simple thought, conversation, quote from a movie might still be hurting us more than helping us. And I want to fucking talk about it. So I will be honest that I will shout from the mountaintops that When Harry Met Sally is my favorite rom-com. It has been since the 80s. I can quote it. I've seen it 100 times. I fucking love a world that we live in where Billy Crystal is our leading man. That just warms me in every fucking way. Just like Mark Ruffalo and Paul Rudd are Marvel superheroes. It like gives me fucking faith in the world. I don't know. Stick with me. And Meg Ryan, oh my God, Meg Ryan in this movie and then in the 90s, she is so peak romantic comedy. She's so good in them. I don't think we give her enough credit. Even her hair in this movie, like we don't give enough credit to. But we all know the scene, I think, that comes up a couple of different times and is really a theme of the movie where they're asking each other, can men and women be friends? And I don't know if that movie really answered that question because they end up together. So, we don't necessarily answer that question. Are they friends at different parts of the movie? Absolutely. And do I love and why I think I've always held on to this movie so tightly is that it was based off of a friendship. We saw them grow. We saw them date other people. We saw them come back to each other as friends in and out of relationships. And even 15-year-old Kira knew there was something really special about this. That when he makes that amazing speech at midnight on New Year's Eve, where she's looking at him like he's crazy, you know that he's choosing her not because he saw her across the room or because they had a couple of fun dates, because they've built something really beautiful and solid over the years. Throughout the time of watching rom-coms, I feel like When Harry Met Sally is one of the few that I think maybe it'll work. Maybe this will last because they've already been through tough times and can see it through. But now, as I listen to that question in 2024, I'm like, what a ridiculous heteronormative question is that? That there's sexual tension between all men and all women so much that we can't be friends, that we can't support each other, that we can't care about each other, that we can't respect each other. I mean, how ridiculous is that? I have had so many guy friends throughout the years. In fact, I would say that my neighborhood guy friends growing up were almost as important as my girlfriends. I spent just as much time with them talking about the world and life and love. And I actually feel honored to say that I, over the years, have had lots of great, just guy friends. It's part of what kept me going when I was single because I was able to look around and go, okay, well, these guys weren't for me, but I know there's good guys out there. So, of course, women and men can be friends. Of course. Not all women and men are going to be attracted to each other. And I'm really sad that this was a thought or an idea that we bought into as a culture not that long ago. And I feel like that belief, even in the 80s or 90s or now, this idea that men and women can't be friends, was just a continuation of centuries more about women being property than anything. Men and women couldn't be friends 60, 70, 80 years ago because you were property of a husband or a boyfriend or a father. Men and women couldn't be friends because if you befriended somebody that was owned by somebody else, that was disrespectful, not to the woman, but to the other man. Are we picking up on the crazy there, my friends? Let's get back onto the sane train. It's so easy to forget, and I say this as someone who's been alive in the time that I'm referencing, but it's so easy to forget that not until about the 60s or 70s did a lot of women even get rights. Rights to their body, rights to their relationships, rights to who they got to love and marry. And we're still fighting for some of those rights. Honestly, can men and women be friends in 1988 was a real conversation. But I think that we have to take away the mysteriousness of the opposite sex. We love to make women and men a mystery. Who are these people? What are they actually about? I don't know. Get to know them and ask them questions. Learn who they are. Learn how they want to be treated. And teach them. When we look at some of the concepts and beliefs that we have around either gender or love or relationships, a lot of them are pretty fucked up because they're still rolling off of years of oppression, years of women not having rights, women not, even if they had rights, not having actual say or equal pay. And beyond that, for so many years, men didn't even believe that women had enough intelligence to be able to really participate in deep conversations. And listen, you are too busy having and raising babies to even get to have friends and deep conversations. You were too fucking tired. So I'm sure that through history, there have been plenty of female male friendships, but it's not the norm. It's not something we hear about much. And really, everybody has a place and expectations on them. I've been thinking a lot lately about what I learned about love, about men. I've said it on this podcast before, but I feel like turning 50 and the world being the way that it is, and that can mean 1,000 different things to 1,000 different people, but that I am shaking off years upon years of backwards thinking, of ideas that were just crammed down my throat about what I was supposed to accept or do to get love. And I am regularly, and I'm talking about like once a week, I will see something or hear something and go, oh God, yeah, that actually makes sense. I think I used to do that or say that. I actually am really proud of myself that I continue to grow and evolve and be a better person at 50 years old. But if I think back, there is an anger. And by the way, like I've actually discussed this with my mom, my therapist, and I've had many conversations. But for a lot of my life, I beat myself up about not having a ton of knowledge, not having a ton of experience with guys or with dating or with relationships. And I was embarrassed. I lost my virginity later than a lot of people. I didn't really have kind of what I would consider a real boyfriend for a long time. Most of them were either long distance or pretty immature, really immature if I'm honest about it. Nobody said anything to anybody. Nobody asked for anything. You just hoped you liked each other, and then maybe somebody got bored or there was a moment and then it was over, which is not the way adult relationships work. But I didn't know that because I was not role modeled that from my parents. And because even though I was raised what I like to call Christian light, I was raised Methodist, and there was not deep, hardcore, extreme religious beliefs whatsoever. I definitely grew up with the don't have sex till you're married. That's what good girls do, all of the things. But where I'm really frustrated about my youth is how little I understood about men, how little I understood about how I should be treated, how little I understood about what dating was, how little I understood about what relationships actually were, communication, any of it. And I understand that I believe my parents were trying to protect me, that they wanted me to have a childhood where I didn't have to think about those things. But I did think about those things. And what they didn't tell me, I filled in with fear and a shit ton of misinformation. I don't think that what I'm sharing is probably even a very personal story. I feel like a lot of particularly women who are Gen Xers or in my age range probably feel very similarly. I even have said, and I did not fully understand the act of sex until I was like 15 years old. Everybody's doing the best that they can. And I also know that they didn't know a ton about child psychology. But what I do know is that I was not raised to be an adult who had adult friendships, who did adult things, who had adult experiences and expectations, who had adult relationships. I had no idea how to be an adult, and I have been catching up ever since. Men to me were these truly mysterious, controlling creatures that I was actually downright scared of, which is crazy to me. The life that I have now, the fact that my best friend is my husband, Danny, but I was downright scared of men. I didn't understand them. And even though I'd had friendships throughout the years, I still had a really bizarre idea about what dating and love and relationships, how different they were supposed to be. Oh, I can love you, but somebody can be not in love with me. By the way, that's bullshit. Listen to my What is Love workshop. It's absolutely free on my website, reinventeddating.com. But I had a lot of confusing and mixed up thoughts about what men should be and women should be, what men should do and women should do or are not allowed to do. I mean, I still now in 2024, I start to laugh when somebody's like, well, is it okay if I ask them out? Fuck. If you like somebody, ask them out. What's the worst that's going to happen? They're just going to say no. Now you know. Information collected. Now you can move forward. If you take nothing else away from this podcast today, please understand that as grown-ass adults, we get to express interest in somebody in kind and honest ways. We get to also ask people out. We also have to accept a no if they're not interested. But man, do we truly have some really old-fashioned, immature thoughts about the way that love and dating and relationships work. But that fear of men, that belief that men and women couldn't be friends because every guy was either trying to sleep with me or take advantage of me or what the fuck ever I was taught was ludicrous. And is honestly so disrespectful to the great guys out there. I feel like there's a lot of us who still buy into some of these ideas that men don't have feelings and emotions, or they don't have as much as women, that every guy out there is just trying to get some, and you have to watch out because Most of them are just preying on you for sex. I mean, honestly, if I were a guy, I'd be offended that I had been reduced, just as a woman, that I'm offended when I'm reduced to being a pink-wearing diva who has a feather pen. No offense to Cher Horowitz, ever. But here was the other problem for me, being kind of scared of men, not really fully understanding dating or relationships, is that I did not respect or take some of my male friendships and hold them as close to my heart as I should have. Because I was so confused, because I'd learned so little and thought that every guy that I was even semi-attracted to was potentially my new boyfriend, I acted out. I was insecure. I was ridiculous. I had crushes on my guy friends. I mean, I was virtually, like, not the villain to some people's story, but was the grumpy female best friend, just pissed that I wasn't the one who got chose. And also, these guys that I had crushes on because I have fucking good taste knew what they wanted way more than I did. I think about one of my guy friend crushes in my 20s who got married and went on to have kids. I didn't want to have kids. He is best dad. If he would have ended up with me, I would have taken that away from him. That unknowing, that immature belief of what men are, and that almost like every man, like there's not millions on this earth, is potentially my future boyfriend, or just awful. It was confusing. It made it complicated when it wasn't. And it made me not a great friend to some of these guys. And I see that happen a lot, where I think a very immature version of us assumes because we have a crush on someone or like someone or are attracted to someone and they don't feel the same way as us, that they just haven't realized it yet. Instead of realizing maybe they just know what they're looking for a little bit better. I would say one of the shittiest things about being a plus size woman is not being a plus size woman and being judged by society, which does suck. But it's the fact that it allowed me to use it as an excuse to why I was single for fucking years, instead of looking at in any way at my choices, at my behavior, at my actions, and honestly, in some level, the bullshit. I thought that some of these guys who were friends but that I had crushes on didn't like me because of the size of my body. I can't speak for them, so I won't even try. And there were many over the years. But let me just tell you another theory that's come, I think, to light through my work. I was insecure as fuck. You could not get near me emotionally because my sarcasm was so thick, it rolled off of me like mud in a cartoon. I was unsafe. You didn't know if 1 second I thought you were the bee's knees, or if somehow, in some way, I was slightly offended by something you did because you didn't like me back in the way that I wanted you to, that I would then turn around and be a jerk, get needy, then all of a sudden give the cold shoulder. I was emotionally unsafe. If somebody wasn't a friend in that situation, it was me. But I think some of these simple ideas that feel harmless are still hurting us. If we're asking, can men and women be friends? We're taking away half of the population, whatever side you're on, and saying that they are only there to either date or hate. I just made that up, so hopefully it makes sense and doesn't suck. It doesn't even put anybody that's non-binary in the conversation. It doesn't put anybody who identifies with different pronouns in the conversation. It doesn't put anybody who identifies as gay, lesbian, bi, pan, trans. It doesn't allow for bigger conversations of just humans. I'm even side-eyeing men are from Mars, women are from Venus at this point. Because I just have zero interest in clumping together one half of the world's population as being the same person. I think it keeps us single. I think that one of the biggest limiting beliefs I see out there with clients I work with is that there's nobody good out there. All the great guys are taken. All the great women are taken. They all want one thing. Women all want money and they're gold diggers. Men all want sex and they're players. Think back, I look at Danny, I look at so many of the guy friends I had over the years, and none of them were players. Not one. Some of them were good daters. Some of them weren't that great at relationships, but they weren't players. They weren't trying to take advantage of people. And I think that when we start to think that the world is against us or men are against us or fuck this, I'm out. You're the one losing. When we are so limited in our thinking in this way, it's perpetuating the problems, not the solutions. Of course, men and women can be friends. And in fact, men and women should be friends, particularly that you're dating. Danny is my best friend. We are in this together. He is my partner. He has to be my best friend. Why would I want to live in a big box with another person who I don't think is a friendly person, who doesn't respect me, who doesn't have my back? By the way, that's just, he does have those things, but why would we think that? Why would we think that when we're attracted to somebody that means more than similar beliefs and values? Looking for the same thing in relationships and family. Why do we have such, in 2024, honestly silly beliefs? It keeps us in a fear place. It keeps us in a place where we are scared to try because we hold these potential relationships on such a pedestal, on such an unrealistic ideal that when I find my person, when I find my partner, my life will be solved. It will not. I can promise you, I have the greatest person I have ever met in my life and that I think I will ever meet in my life as a partner, and my life still has lots of fucking problems. A bunch. Super awesome to have somebody there in it with me, but it's still my shit. How are these people going to ever live up to these unrealistic, crazy ideals? You know, it's so funny. I talk to people and they're just like, I have a lot of close friendships. I have people who I love and they love me and I respect and they respect me. And then we talk about dating and they're like, oh God, I don't know. That's scary. I just feel like there's so much pressure. Who do we think's putting that pressure on us? We are. In case you haven't heard this or somebody has not enlightened you into this world, the person that you choose to make your partner or have a long-term significant relationship with should be your best friend. Attraction, and especially sexual attraction, may ebb and flow, might come and go, but they should be the person you can count on. They should be the person that you can go to. They should be the person whose arms are fucking wide open with a hug when you need it, and you should be that person for them. And any other kind of weird ass, like, I love them, but I'm not in love with them, that usually just means that people are saying, I don't feel attracted to you. By the way, now that I know what I know, that's such a ridiculous statement. I teach 5 kinds of attraction. And that's not even all the kinds of attraction. But I teach 5 different kinds of attraction. And the one that actually matters the most, which is emotional attraction, most of us can't tell on the first couple of dates. So half of your asses are out the door before you even know if there's an emotional connection even here. Now, most of the time what we're talking about when we say I'm just not in love with you, or I'm just not feeling the sparks or the chemistry, or I'm just not attracted to you in that way. We're talking about physical or sexual attraction, which is in no way whatsoever black or white, or should be the main determining factor on if somebody is your partner or not. Now, there's a lot of different reasons, some of them normal, some of them healthy, some of them not, of why we're attracted to certain people and why we're not attracted to others. I'm not going to get into that. That's a fucking long, big ass conversation. You can work with me if you want to figure that out. But what I will say is that part of the reasons I see people giving up, part of the reasons that I see this not working is because we hold these potential dates and relationships on such a high standard that they're so fragile. Somebody said to me in the last week, I have coached my ass off this last week. And they said it, they're like, I think that they're so fragile. So here is a reminder. Not only can we, men and women, be friends, but you can make mistakes in dating and relationships and still have a solid and healthy dating and relationship. You can say the wrong thing, you can do the wrong thing and still work through it. And this whole ridiculous notion that, we always need to put our best foot forward. Be a dick. You can't be a jerk. You can't emotionally be unregulated and take it out on somebody and then be like, oh, hey, turns out I was having a shitty day and I took it out on you. No, somebody who doesn't know you, who's had 2 dates with you, they are not going to be okay with that, nor should they. Check your shit. But to me, this all comes back to that magical, mysterious, weird idea we have about love and relationships. Like the rest of life, we're just supposed to trudge through, but love we're supposed to float through. It's supposed to be easy and flow. No! What else in life is that way? Not your job, not your family, not your friendships. Why do we hold love and romantic partnerships up on this highly unrealistic pedestal that has like 80% of the single women on the internet shouting, never settle, instead of, how do we make this better? How do I meet people and teach them how to treat me and set boundaries right away and share my core values so that I am not spending days, weeks, and months with somebody who's not even available or a good match? Why are we not doing that? Why are we just saying it's over instead of fixing it? Let's say you're 12 years old and you want to be an astronaut. Like, this is your thing. Your whole entire life, you've been obsessed with space, with NASA, with whatever. So there's going to be a person, now if you're my age, you probably would have had to go to the library and look up information. Now you could probably just Google it. And you have to find out what you need to go to school for. You have to find out the physical requirements. You have to take certain classes, learn certain skills, understand theory and mindsets. You cannot walk into NASA at 45 and be like, listen, I've been a marketing professional for the past 25 years, and I think I want to be an astronaut. How do we make this happen? That's not going to happen, right? We are all in agreement of the time, energy, school, practice, knowledge, skills, mindsets to become, and then you are not even guaranteed, by the way, with all of that, to be an astronaut. They may never send you up in space. Yet, we want a lifelong, lasting relationship with knowledge from fucking rom-coms and her family. What are we doing, people? What are we doing? What's going on? This doesn't make sense anymore. When are we going to stop shitting on love and start having real conversations about it? Are we there yet? Because I've been waiting for a couple of years. I still to this day remember, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I was looking something up online, and a love and relationship researcher who had clearly been through some shit. He's seen some shit, right? Somebody asked him a question about, if we have this knowledge or if we know so much now about relationships, like why do most people not do it or aren't learning more? We know that there are practical strategies to communication. Why does the average person not learn about them? This guy is like, listen, I have tried for how many years of my academic career to convince people of the logics and the logistics of love. And he's like, and nobody will fucking listen. And I remember reading that and just kind of like laughing to myself at this kind of grumpy old guy just being, oh, I tried. But let me tell you, I don't feel grumpy, nor do I feel that old, but I'm a little bit there. I'm a little bit there that I just know how much time and energy I put into the work that I do and research, and how somebody will instead listen to somebody with zero background on a TikTok video. Are we doing? Are we just gonna give up on love? Are we just gonna let really, really unhealthy people just continue to date and hate each other while the rest of us just sit over here and judge them? Is that what we're doing? Or are we going to actually give our fucking future a chance? Are we going to learn how to do this better? Are we going to show our kids and our grandkids what healthy relationships can look like? What deep and beautiful love can look like and feel like? So I don't like to just come on here and share facts or theorize and swear a lot. I like to come up with solutions. I like to come up with, and here's what we can do next. And I'm a little nervous for us, guys. I'm a little nervous, I'm not going to lie. But this conversation, can men and women be friends, shouldn't be anything but a relic from a rom-com in the 80s. We all need so much love and connection more than ever. Find that in women and men, in your pets, in strangers, in acquaintances. Find it however the fuck you can, because we all need it right now more than ever. I'm going to throw something out there right now. Something that I'm encouraging people, my clients, to do, as well as people who took some of my programs recently, is to practice date. I think we've become so awkward in this space that we're kind of screwing ourselves, not literally, before we even get a chance to check this out. So I'm encouraging people to go, why not? Ask people out, sit across from them for 45 minutes to an hour, get to know them, ask questions, practice their answers. And maybe that sounds terrible to you, or maybe that sounds awful, but I want you to ask why. And I'm just going to bet that it might have something to do with the pressure you put on yourself or others in dating. Now, you may have social anxiety, so just sitting with somebody just feels harder. By the way, social anxiety is something you can work with. I want to encourage people to remember that therapy works and is helpful. But a lot of times we've made dating and the possibility of romance such a big ass deal that it doesn't deserve, that we've talked ourselves right out of it, everybody. that we're like, oh, that sounds hard. I don't want to do that. So I'm calling it why not? Why not dating? It shouldn't be overthought. It shouldn't be more than an hour. You shouldn't be going anywhere but for somewhere for free, or maybe your coffee or ice cream and you pay for yourself. There's no complications. There's no weird shit. You're just getting to know somebody for an hour of your life. And maybe that person will end up being a friend. Maybe that person will end up being a Scrabble buddy. Maybe that person will say something that changes your mind on something in a way that you never thought before. Maybe that person will introduce you to your person, which I've heard that story more than a couple times recently. I went out with so-and-so and we weren't a good match, but they introduced me to my now partner. The thing is that when we don't leave our houses, when all we do is swipe, we think we're doing shit and we're not. Why not dating? I'm throwing it out there right now. Why not? Once a week, practice date. Can start off with friends. Once a week. Leave your house, you get dressed up, you find an outfit that feels great, that you're comfortable with, and you just get to know people. Let's take the pressure off of this. Let's stop making this our whole being and worth and start treating it as just a way to connect to people. And doggone it, one of them might be your person. But how are you going to know if you're screaming never settle from your couch watching Netflix? You won't. Not working on this shit is taking yourself out of the game without even you acknowledging it. Not actively going out and trying to meet people is you not actually wanting a relationship. Unless you're Amish or have been living in a rock, you have met people you can date long term. There is no magical person. There is no one. No one's going to save you. No one's going to complete you. Nobody is going to instantly make your life better. You're going to form a friendship that may include making out. And you're going to take some time to figure out if that person's somebody that you want to spend a lot of time with. And that might include sharing a space with. That might include sharing a lot of time and energy with. So you better fucking take your time and know what you're looking for. Can men and women be friends? My God. Shouldn't they be? Of course they can be. I wouldn't be half the person I am right now if I did not have some incredible men along the way. And by the way, they were chosen, not family. If you grew up like me, scared of men, scared of what might happen to you, scared that they're going to take advantage of you, that they're only looking for one thing, I encourage you to check that out. I encourage you to look at where those beliefs are coming from and how you have confirmed them over the years. Because I just want to give a different perspective. The perspective of knowing a lot of great guys throughout the years. Some of them aren't even here anymore, meaning they've passed away. I feel like this is a little bit full circle. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm crying right now. And I've been crying a lot lately, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I can think back to so many memories with so many incredible guy friends. These incredible men helped make me who I am by sharing their stories and their experiences and their perspectives so that I feel like when I decided that I was actually going to fucking try and do this, to date, to have a real relationship with Danny, I knew that they were cheering for me from around the globe and wanting amazing things for me. I hope, and if you don't, I hope you have those friendships. Or I hope you find them because it's never too late. And I actually can't I don't know where these podcasts are gonna go. I fucking don't. I sit down with some couple of thoughts and I go. And I now realize that I dedicate this podcast to my guy friends throughout the year who have made me a better woman. And I hope that you can say the same, and I hope you reach out to them and say hello if it's been a while. I'm blessed by these friendships. I hope you are too. I hope you are blessed with some friendships with people who are not the same gender as you, who can give a different perspective, who can share a different experience. Because it's not money or things that makes us rich, that makes us better people. It's connections, it's friends, it's stories, it's understanding, it's empathy. All right, guys, that's it for this week. What did you learn? If you liked this, if you loved it, please make sure you subscribe. Come check out reinventingdating.com. And one huge favor, please share this with the other singles that you know, so we can all reinvent dating together. Because when we know what love is, when we know our mindsets, when we understand how we work, we understand the skills, we can get in better relationships, period. All right, guys, I will see you next week. Until then, don't forget to meet love halfway.